let me bring this other doctor in. So they come in, the guy's like sitting down, and my wife knows the guy because she's worked with him.
Okay.
And he's not a guy that messes around. When he comes into the room, it's usually something serious, and she's just like, he goes, we've had an incidental finding. And that's when they found the tumor in my kidney.
Welcome to the Shaw Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Shaw. Today, I am joined by Mr. Nick Best. Nick Best has been on the podcast a couple times now.
Yeah, getting up there. Yeah,
I mean, you might be getting into co-host territory.
Ooh,
I don't know about that.
Wow.
Might be a little premature.
A little bit premature.
Yeah. But you're back, man.
Yeah, I'm back. Thanks.
You're in the chair. You're looking good.
Yeah, hanging out with you. It's been good stuff.
How are things? Good?
Yeah, it's been an interesting few months, that's for sure. But
yeah,
it's good. Everything is progressing the way it's supposed to, and looks like things are going to be pretty good.
So interesting few months, I feel like, is a little bit of a understatement.
Yeah.
So Nick sent me a video back in October, I believe, of him bench pressing, and did not forewarn me of what was in the video. Right. So I get this video and I'm like, oh, because Nick, from time to time, he'll do lifts or whatever and send me a video and say, hey, check this out. And you would expect Nick Best, who's bench pressed, I don't know how many tens of thousands of times probably at this point.
Yeah. 40 years worth.
Yeah. You're not expecting anything to really happen other than a lift to happen.
Correct.
So I'm sitting here watching it and all of a sudden I've just about dropped my phone because Nick dropped the bar on your chest.
Yes. As
you were pushing back up. So you came down, you're pushing back up. But the first thing I went to look at is how you were gripping the bar.
Correct.
Because I'm like, I know I bench pressed with you before, and you're not taking a grip where your thumb is on the same side of the bar as your fingers.
I don't false grip it.
Yeah. So you're around the bar, and I saw that, and somehow you managed to still drop the bar on your chest.
Yeah.
Which I asked you after the fact, and you don't even know how that happened.
No idea how that happened.
And how much weight was it?
425.
So 425 pounds dropping on your chest.
Yes.
And the sound that you made was in the video, I almost needed to turn the volume down because it's like you get hit and I'm feeling it from what would that feel like? And then the sound that you make completely reinforced exactly what I was thinking that it would feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 425 on the chest.
Kind of takes your breath away.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of moaned and wheezed, I guess, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Everything in my diaphragm kind of spasmed after that.
I would imagine.
And locked up. So I couldn't really exhale too well, and I couldn't really inhale too well.
So what were you thinking at that moment?
Ouch.
It's probably very accurate.
Ouch, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
How the heck did that happen?
But
were the things kind of going through my mouth, my brain, because I have no idea. My thumbs were around the bar. I still can't explain why it came out other than maybe divine intervention.
Yeah.
Because what it led to.
And this is what we need to now get into. And
okay.
In hindsight, I think it all makes sense, but I think as we unpack this a little bit and share more, it will make more sense. And it makes more sense to me, and you and I have talked about it, but I think it will be inspiring for a lot of people to hear what you're about to say. So you're hurt bad enough that you need to go in.
Yeah, because Callie kind of takes a look at me. My wife's an ER nurse, and so nothing really phases her unless it's fairly serious. And she's kind of looking at me, and she's watching me breathe, and she's seeing the spasm. She's like, we better go get that looked at. Let's get you to the ER.
So did you go on that night, or did you
go?
No,
yeah, we went in in the next 30 minutes. I mean, I was in the car and at the ER in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, so obviously you were hurting pretty bad.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I mean, the video cut off that I got to see, but you weren't looking very good in the video. So
no, I couldn't take deep breaths until they gave me the muscle relaxants to get my diaphragm from spasming. I couldn't take deep breaths.
Man,
it was this,
just real shallow, short.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're going and you get in there, and how did that go?
Well, I got in there and they're kind of looking at me and they're like, we need to get a CT scan because we want to make sure you don't have any internal bleeding. And the guy was kind of feeling around and poking around up in here, up in the top part of my rib cage. And he's like, I don't know. He goes, we need to get some film on it. And Callie's like, she's like, okay, fine. Let's do it. Let's just be safe. Turns out I had a hematoma, which that's not the end of the world. That's going to heal and go away. I had both sides of my ribs were bruised because the rib cage gives, and where it stopped giving, that's where I got the injuries. So it was right in my serratus. It just wasn't very pleasant. But,
no.
Got through that, and then he goes, and let me bring this other doctor in. So they come in, the guy's like sitting down, and my wife knows the guy because she's worked with him.
Okay.
And he's not a guy that messes around. When he comes into the room, it's usually something serious, and she's just like, he goes, we've had an incidental finding. And that's when they found the tumor in my kidney.
Yeah.
So, and he's just like, there's a tumor, there's a growth in your kidney. It's inside the kidney, completely inside the kidney. He goes, but you need to go get another CT scan in like 2 days because they gave me contrast, and they can't give you contrast like back to back. You have to have a couple days in there and
for it to kind of filter out.
Yeah, and a lot of fluids because it's really, really hard on your kidneys.
Okay.
So 2 days later, I went to Steinberg Diagnostics and got another CT scan, and in which time we had gotten contact with Dr. Wilson, who's the urologist who's handling this for me, and got the film, got an appointment scheduled with him, and then a couple weeks later got to go see him, and he sent me for another CT scan. He goes, look, we have a mass there. I can't tell whether it's a cancerous tumor or a fatty tumor. We're going to need to get a biopsy, stuff like that. Went in for another CT scan, got a better look at it. Then he sent me for a biopsy, but they couldn't get me comfortable because they're laying on your belly. They're going to go through your back, which because it was where it was sitting at in my kidney, they were going to have to go through my lung and into the kidney.
Man.
And the doc's just like, we're not going to be able to do this today. I can't get you, even with being relaxed and everything else, I can't get you, because I was so uncomfortable. And blood pressure was normal when I was laying down, but laying on my back, and then they prop me up, so I'm kind of like bent backwards.
So that had to hurt.
Yeah, it just didn't.
So bad.
On the ribs, they couldn't give me they couldn't get my blood
and
pressure.
You would probably need to hold really still for that.
Yeah. I couldn't move at all.
Yeah.
Because that needle's like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
messing around with lungs and
I think it was a 20 gauge needle that they were going to stick through that far. So
man alive. Yeah. So they couldn't do it that day. Mm-mm. So what they're basically then going off the scans then they did a biopsy after.
They're going off the CT scans, but the doc's concern is it could be a fatty tumor, in which case if it was, they could go in, cauterize the blood vessels in the kidney that are supplying the fatty tumor, and it'll go away. So he can't tell the difference. I'm like, Doc, would an MRI be able to be enough of a view, in a 3D view, to give you a better idea whether it's fat or something else? He goes, yeah, the MRI will work. So we went in again. I got an MRI. And this is all within like a month, mind you.
Yeah, I feel like it was constant, back to back to back.
While I was training to go to OSG.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because I went to a
timing. Because that was in November, right?
Yeah, I went a month after.
Okay.
This incident. I still went and competed at OSG.
So mentally, we're running through this obviously quick now as a timeline, but mentally, how was that to not only drop the bar, then have the incidental finding,
yes,
which then turns into more CT scans, more doctor's appointments, more kind of wondering, questioning what's going on, what is this, when do we get to find out what it is, am I going to be able to compete?
Right,
because you're deep in training. That's right. That's a big X factor I didn't even mention. Yeah.
I knew Mark was going to be tough, and I knew it was going to be one of the two of us. And I was training to come after it.
Yeah.
I mean, what Mark did on the Viking press, I did 5 weeks out.
So Mark, referring to Mark Felix.
Yeah. I had done that many reps 5 weeks out. I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And I had done all the dumbbells in training at home with no effort whatsoever.
So it was all going great.
Everything was going really, really good.
But you're not only dealing with the mental side of this and the testing and what's going on, but you're
Right.
also dealing with coming back from being bruised pretty badly.
Yeah, really
From
badly.
the bar dropping on you.
So I couldn't stabilize much of anything overhead. I think I got maybe 1-2 reps in comfortably before I left for OSG
Yeah, not good.
on the Viking press, and I got a 160-pound dumbbell overhead, and I thought that was quite painful. I was
Yeah.
like, eh. I was able to figure out how to clean the sandbags, but it was still rough, and I didn't even touch stones.
Yeah.
Didn't even mess with them.
Well, I remember you talking to me about that because you said it's just too much of a risk. I'm just going to have to do it in the moment
Yeah,
and go for it.
Right.
You know, so
and I did.
yeah. So the training aside, now how was it dealing with these appointments and kind of wondering, waiting with what's going on that side of it?
It's like anything else. It's hanging over your head, but you go at it one of two ways: poor me, or I'm going to beat this. I don't care what it is. I'm going to beat this. I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do. We're going to go through all the processes. I'm going to do what is ever necessary from the best minds possible, which Wilson's an absolutely amazing doctor. And we're just going to attack it, and whatever needs to be done, we're going to do.
Yeah. Which is a great mindset, very powerful.
Yeah.
Going into something like that, because you face some adversity like that, and especially a big unknown
Right.
that's hanging out. I mean, do we have cancer? Are we dealing with cancer? Is it going to come out? How has it spread? Has it not spread?
Is it still growing super fast?
Absolutely.
I mean, time is an issue. If it's growing fast, I don't want to sit there and wait and have it actually leave the kidney,
Absolutely.
that type of thing. But we looked at it the way it was growing. We were going to be good. We probably had a year before it would leave the kidney,
Okay.
growth-wise.
So you caught it super early.
Yeah, but it was a third of the size of the kidney, mind you.
Man alive.
Because when we got,
So was it considered stage 1?
it was considered stage 1, but it was nearly stage 2. It
So
was
right on the brink of that.
it was right on the verge of being stage 2.
Man. So was that the point then where you left off? They couldn't do the biopsy, and then you went to compete,
Yeah.
and you came back from that, because at that point, then how did it play out?
Well, I didn't. So I think I got the MRI before I left, so we knew it was cancer.
Okay.
Because he's like, yeah, it's not a fatty tumor, it's cancer, but it's one of 2 or 3 different cancers. He goes, so when you get back, we're gonna have an appointment and we'll discuss next steps. Which was the day after the Olympia.
God, man, this. I'm either too busy or I don't. You know, it's like because we have all these conversations, but there was so much going on in your life and my life too, and you know, it's like you get caught up, and you obviously were out at the Olympia with, you know, we had the Evolution booth there, and it was cool, you know, hanging out and doing all that. But then, you know, you had a lot hanging over your head. But that was December, the weekend before Christmas, right?
16th, 17th, yeah.
Yeah, so right in there. So then you had the appointment that following week.
Monday.
And at that point, then they scheduled you, right? From
He goes, okay, well, here's the thing. It is cancer, and it's in the middle of the kidney. So I can't cut it in half. I can't piece it together and take out the middle and sew it together. The kidney's gone. I had to go in for another scope where they go through your urinary tract, if you know what I mean.
Amazing.
Which I'm very glad they put me out for, because
Yep. Yeah,
that was 4 days of peeing blood.
really
The first day and a half, it felt like you're peeing, I don't know, glass.
Yes.
I mean, it just really, after the first time I went to the bathroom, I was scared for the next probably day and a half, 2 days to go pee.
I can't imagine. That's horrible.
But you get through it. I mean,
Yeah.
you either embrace the suck and move on and know it's going to be a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And get through it, or you just fall apart. And I'm not going to fall apart.
Yeah. Well, that.
So, but that's 4 days before they took the kidney. So I did that, got back. Doc said after a day I could train if I wanted to. So I went and did like 7 something on the Hatfield squats.
Yeah.
Which the pressure was kind of odd from that, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't painful. It didn't bleed anymore. Didn't make it any worse. Then got one more training day in. Then shut it down, went in, got the kidney removed.
Yeah. That's
On
it's
January
something,
3rd,
man.
yeah.
So from October, November, December, January 3rd, got the kidney out, and everything was successful.
Yeah, everything was great. I mean, he got the whole thing out. There was no bleeding issues, no complications, none of that. So it was great. So going to OSG, when I went to OSG, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do strongman on one kidney anymore.
Yeah.
I just, because it's so taxing on your body and the muscle breakdown from the training and the volume and everything else, I didn't know if I was going to be able to get through that type of training with one kidney. So I said my goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the Olympia, I just kind of went after the 600 for reps.
Yes.
And pulled 15 with that, kind of making up for the deadlift at OSG, but I don't want to get into that.
No problem. Yeah.
I was very angry. Getting a handful of baby powder is not cool.
No.
But anyway, they got it out January 3rd. Everything was fine. I had to take 2 weeks and literally do as little as possible because they don't want your blood pressure going up, because if it starts to really leak, you could bleed out inside your body in about 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
Yeah. So not worth, definitely not worth doing anything there.
No.
Man.
So took 2 weeks, let everything kind of heal, did some movement stuff at about 10 days and just started kind of, because I was going crazy. You can only play so many video games and
relax for so long.
And relax and do nothing for so long. And then basically started coming back and exercising and doing stuff. And like the first 4 days were the worst because one, I had to get all the air out because they blow your stomach up. I mean, they literally blow it up.
So you explain this to me, and that's normal procedure.
Yeah. The machine looks like a spider.
Okay.
The robot machine that they do the operation with looks like a giant spider, and it's coming over, and you're just like,
what is this going to do to me?
You guys are knocking me out for this, right? They're like, yeah. I go, cool, because I don't want to see this.
No, whatever that thing's going to do, I'm not down.
I don't want to watch it, but I know the procedure. They went in through my belly button, 3 holes up here, 1 in my belt line.
Okay.
They did all the work. So they got the kidney tied off, the urinary tract and stuff disconnected from it, which the good part is it wasn't in the urinary tract, so they didn't have to take part of my bladder. They didn't have to take the tube out or anything else. It was just, that was it. They just had to take the kidney. So that was awesome. That was best case scenario. So they get everything tied off, and then he makes the incision here, which ended up being about a 5-inch incision, because they can't cut the kidney up because you don't want the cancer cells to come out.
So they wanted it contained.
You have to keep it contained and take it all out in one piece.
So that's why they had to do the bigger
incision. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they couldn't piece it out.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So coming back from that, what was the healing like in the days after? I'd imagine that's probably pretty tough.
Yeah. The first day or so, trying to get all that air out, because the air is actually more painful than the incisions.
Did you take any pictures of yourself with all the air in there?
Yeah, I just didn't post them.
Didn't post them.
But my belly's out to air.
So basically,
I'm like, wow, that's really unflattering.
Yeah, basically you look like Eddie every single day.
Yeah, just
something like that.
Just with a big red mark on my stomach.
Yeah. But just take the red mark out, and it would just
look
Photoshop his head, and
it would look like Ed's stomach. Yeah,
I saw it. Yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures of him recently. It's not great.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how he got pregnant too.
It's sympathy weight gain is what it is. Something like that. Isn't that a thing? Yeah. Like the guys say, oh, I'm going to put on some weight too so you don't feel so bad. Except he just went a little overboard with it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Still love him.
Yeah. I needed to make a joke there with you, man, because we're getting into heavy stuff. But
lighten it up.
So you get the air working out sounds horrible.
Yeah, because the only way you're going to get it out is to move.
Yes.
So the poor people that lay in their hospital bed and sit there, it doesn't dissipate very fast because you're not moving. Movement's what makes it break up and absorbed by the body and stuff like that. Yeah. As soon as the nurse told me that, I was like, it's 6 a.m. I'm
going to go.
Get me up. And she helped me up and she's like, let me get your walker. I'm like, no, I won't need the walker.
Yeah.
I just walked real slow, little steps, did like 8 laps around the nurse's station. And she's just like, kind of look at me funny. And
well, knowing you probably had a conversation with everybody in every room, like as you were going around, you know.
Yeah.
Like I mean, just because that's what you do.
Yeah,
you know?
I like to talk to people, and people are
Nick's making his rounds again. Everybody hide.
Well, so 2 hours later, I didn't. Yeah, everybody hide. Dude, that's what you do. You don't have to tell everybody else they need to hide.
I mean, I wasn't saying that I do that necessarily. You dig into that. I mean, that sounds terrible. Why would I ever do that? No, so you're moving, you're getting the air out.
Mm-hmm. I did it again 2 hours later.
And now, how long did you have to stay in the hospital then, total?
Well,
after
supposed to be for a couple of days, and I was out of there in 22 hours.
So, and you're probably because you're moving, and
yes,
they could see that you could move and that type of thing.
The doc was supposed to come in, I think, at like 2. He came in at 6. They released me at 8.
So you're out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So going home now, did you have anything special to move around, or to, because I would imagine, just flexing and getting up and this type of thing would be very challenging.
Yeah, that was probably, so I was fine sitting and I was fine standing. But if I laid down, I needed help getting up. And that's the only time I would actually use any of the painkillers too. So I would take a painkiller to lay down to go to bed, and then I was fine. I slept about 10 hours, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, for you especially. Yeah, you don't normally sleep that long. Yeah,
no, not that much. And then to get up, I would lay there. Callie go get me a painkiller, and then I'd wait for it to kick in. Then she would help me up, and I could get out. And then I was fine. I'd go downstairs and just sit in a chair like this and watch TV and read or whatever.
Yeah. And then how long, I mean, I would imagine, did it start just kind of gradually day by day, just get a little bit better, and then you could move a little easier?
By the 4th day, I was able to get in and out of bed, get up off the couch, and do all that stuff all by myself with no painkillers.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild now looking back even more, as you and I have talked about that video and moment of dropping that bar. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't happen, you don't know about this.
Right.
That's what's crazy.
And the doc's like, yeah, 2 things would have happened. It would either gotten out of the kidney and spread, and it had been either late stage 3 or late stage 4 when we found it.
Now, would you have started feeling bad?
No, that's the problem. It's a widowmaker. You don't feel any pain.
Until
I didn't have any bad kidney functions. Both my kidneys were functioning at 100% or 98% when I
That's
went
nuts. Mm-hmm. So how are you supposed to discover it then? Or you just...
That's why they call it a widowmaker, because
it's just like a silent...
One of 2 things will happen. It'll get out and it'll spread, and then it'll get really bad, and then you'll have the side effects, and they'll find it, and they're like, you start making plans.
Okay.
Or it bursts the kidney, and you bleed to death.
Wow. Man, so it's so lucky in a way. It's
almost like divine intervention.
100%. Yeah, that's what's crazy. It's so crazy to think about it and to realize that's what happened,
mm-hmm.
and that after bench pressing how many different times, it's like the bar was taken out of your hands.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah,
and for that to happen and you to catch it like you did, and for it to be still terrible, but best case scenario in every circumstance.
And they even think there was a small one, super small, in my left one. And I just got a biopsy 2 weeks ago on that, and then just had my consultation about the results of that right before I came out here, Thursday before I came out here.
So really right before.
Yeah. And he was just like, actually, the biopsy was all healthy kidney tissue. So they think it's like an anomaly where like some type of skin, or not skin, but kidney tissue folded or something. But it's not cancerous tumor. It's not even a fatty tumor. It's just healthy kidney tissue.
Which is great. So they just monitor that I'm assuming going forward.
I go back in the middle of May. We're going to do a scan because they looked at this thing all through the CT scans. The doctors have gone back through all the film, and there's a film of that area in 2021 from my lat as well, when they tore that off, and the MRIs and stuff that I got.
So that it got captured in that.
Yeah, and so did the other one.
Oh wow! So it wasn't there, and
yeah, and it says something. No, it was there, and it says something to follow up on it, but nobody followed up on it.
Oh man. So you had something from when you had your lat repaired. Wow.
Yes.
Boy, that's kind of disturbing.
And there's notes in the bottom of it that nobody caught.
Hey, this needs to be checked out, or like something's here.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a mass that should be looked into type of thing.
So somebody dropped the ball, potentially.
Potentially, but
Yeah.
hindsight, it doesn't matter now. It's all turned out good.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I'm thankful. I'm thankful you're
I appreciate that, dude.
as much as I might hide from your rounds when you're walking around. You know, it's not that I've ever done that ever.
Well, the cool part about walking around though is I did talk to a couple people that were in there with the same type of surgery, and they were in there suffering pretty good. I go, look, just get up and make one lap. You're gonna feel way better. I mean, the difference, I felt 10 to 15% better when I made a lap.
Did they listen to you?
They did. They got up and walked around.
So did you start like a walking club in the hospital?
I started a walking club in the hospital.
Did you really?
Yeah. It was pretty. The nurse was like, she goes, that was really cool. You inspired them to get up and walk around.
That's awesome. See,
So I felt pretty good about that.
well, you should feel good about it, man. That's awesome. I mean, I'm not shocked at all by that. That is something that you would do. I would do this exact same thing if I was in the scenario where, you know, it's all about inspiring people and doing that type of thing. So I wanted you to share that story because I feel like it's important for people to hear that, and also you had kind of a big moment on the comeback is what we're going to call it. Post surgery. You know, you came in the gym and trained with me.
Well,
and
apparently
that type of
people are calling that a Titanic moment now, by the way.
What's that?
The picture.
Of you and I. Why? Because I'm behind you?
From the front, it looks like the Titanic pose.
Interesting. But your arms were on the bar, but not out like you're flying. Okay. I get it. I did not see that. I did not see Fair enough. Yep. Yeah. And I'm kind of holding. Yeah. I can see how that would come. I can see how, Anyway, that's wonderful. So we have a Titanic moment picture together.
Yeah.
From it was 715-pound squat.
Yes.
Which I was actually really shocked by. Because I wasn't sure kind of where you would be at coming out here.
Yeah.
You know, and you've even said to me, certain movements I just have to be careful with and that type of thing. So to be able to brace that way. And how many weeks are we post now? 9 weeks. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. I mean, to heal like that, and especially because it's a deep,
yeah,
they had to go through all of the muscle tissue there. So to do that and not feel anything, so I feel like pretty phenomenal, man.
Yeah, I'm very blessed.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, I mean, 700, and you've still got big goals and things you want to go after. And I think that, you know, that's something I want to tie in. So I had asked people about, you know, hey, what questions you got for us?
Sure.
Like Nick's here and kind of hanging out, blah, blah, blah.
I will say, though, I feel very safe when you're behind me and I'm squatting.
I feel like I could adequately get you out of pretty much whatever you were to get into there. So
correct.
That probably helped a little bit.
Yeah, because technically I was supposed to do 650, 660 this week.
Okay, so you bumped it up a little bit more.
Yeah, well, because I did 665 the one before, and it was
easy. Yeah. So one of the questions was, and I think that we can dive a little bit deeper into this. It was, is it worth it to put that much time and effort into strongman for a lifetime? Right? So, because that's basically, in essence, you know, obviously you've done powerlifting and strongman.
Yeah.
I have done basketball and then strongman. So, you know, it's we can maybe dive a little bit deeper into lifting, training, et cetera, but is it worth it? And I would say for both of us, we're going to answer 100% yes. Right? But I think what we should do is we should go into more of the reasons why, right? Because on the surface, I think a lot of people that maybe haven't ever got into lifting or been into training, any of that, they don't really understand what it feels like to be strong, to be powerful, to be capable. And they also then don't understand what it does to you mentally, right? And I think for me, going way back to when I first started lifting, that was probably the biggest thing for me. Was I had goals, I had reasons that I wanted to train because I needed to be stronger and I needed to be faster and be able to jump higher and do all of these things for basketball. But the positive outcome from getting into training was much more than those physical things. It was so much more mental, right? So at that age, the confidence that I gained from getting in the weight room and being able to have a kind of positive reinforcement of I go in and work hard, and then I feel better, then I look better, I perform better. And all of that then led me to want to put more hard work in so that I could have more of that all of the time. And I don't really feel like that has stopped for me. Now, of course, I've been able to go into basketball and do what I did there, which was great. And it's kind of the same thing, you know, and I attribute a lot of my success to training, because if I had not gotten into training the way that I did, I don't think I would have been as good of an athlete as I was with being a basketball player, which a lot of basketball players don't generally go into weightlifting or trying to be as strong as they can be. And I think that was something that I had as an advantage. But I think on the flip side, getting into strongman, and the question is, you know, doing strongman for a lifetime, is it worth it? All of those lessons of what we just talked about, right? So this is adversity, what you just went through with cancer, right? Cancer is a big deal. You had some pretty major injuries as well throughout your career. But I know firsthand from talking to you that all of those injuries didn't stop you, right? And I've also had, as I've mentioned, a lot of different things. Some things I've talked about, some things I have not. I've had a lot of adversity to overcome as well, right? Different injuries, different obstacles, different hurdles. But through training, through strongman, through battling and getting better physically, but also mentally, you can deal with things like that in training and prep for a contest, but also in life. Right? And so maybe you talk a little bit more about that. I'm obviously sharing a lot about me, and that question just got me thinking.
Well,
right? How is it worth it? How is it worth it?
It's worth it in so many ways. I mean, for me, it's been. I was too small playing football. You know, my senior year of college, I was 220 pounds, and I was a defensive end.
You realize I was heavier than that. My like 8th grade going into my freshman year of high school.
Right. Yeah. But I squatted over 700.
Well,
and I was fast, and I had a lot of drive and aggression, and I would just go after whatever I wanted. And I learned in high school, because my sophomore year of high school, I was 130 pounds and pretty short. I was like maybe 5'3". And I hit the growth spurt, and I got into the weights, and I started getting bigger, and I started getting stronger, and realized I can, as long as I keep doing this, there's nothing I can't do as long as I want to put the effort in. And I ended up winning the state championships in powerlifting in high school in 1986. And it was just on from there. And it's just the discipline has never, and the hard work and the effort always pays off. It might not necessarily pay off the way you expect it to, but it will always pay off. And now I go through things like this and adversity like this, and I know everything's going to be okay. I'm just going to keep doing what I need to do to get to where I need to be to get through these things, and I will get through, and I will get back to doing what I love to do. And I think it's coming from a place of love as well, right? Oh, absolutely.
And I think that so many people, maybe now more than ever in the sport of strongman, get into it because the popularity has grown. Right? And that's a simple fact. But I remember a time where the popularity really wasn't there.
Oh boy.
And there's a lot of men that came before me, before you, before us, that laid that framework. And you and I have been a part of laying that framework as well. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the newer athletes, I guess I'm going to call them that, like coming into the sport now, they don't understand. And unfortunately, if they don't know the history, they don't understand the spot that the sport was in and where it's at now, and kind of where it's got to. And we've both seen that happen. But then they come in and it's frustrating to me that more of them don't maybe take the time to appreciate the men that came before them. And they come in and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to use this platform. And now I get this attention because I go to these contests. And, you know, it's not that it's necessarily their fault, maybe, that they don't understand, but it would be nice if they took the time to understand where it was at. And, you know, that going lifetime of dedicating yourself to a sport to be better, to push yourself, to go in a positive direction in so many ways, now has resulted in what kind of a lot of the success, right? A lot of the things we've been able to experience and putting in that work.
Contribute to all of it.
Yes.
I mean, I know whether I'm in the business world, when I was working for the beer companies, that work ethic that I had, that I learned from the gym and training and the slow methodical builds, the planning, the structuring, setting everything up, you know, where you do the meal prepping, you do prepping for events that are coming up and stuff like that. As far as like if March Madness was coming up, I got to order all the stuff for March Madness in September.
And pre-plan it.
And pre-plan
ready for it.
So I have to order all that stuff to come in for all the giveaways and like TVs and stuff like that, and make sure everything's marked with the brewery label on it, and which is, I mean, we're getting kind of technical about it.
Spin off, but that discipline, the discipline, man.
Right.
It's a discipline of not only training hard and putting that work in, but then applying that, I think, to life.
Yes.
In general, and having that carryover. And like you said, you're applying that to the job that you had,
right,
you know, back then, and you know, now you obviously don't have that job anymore, and have been able to kind of spin off from there and do other things with more doors opening and that type of thing, which is wonderful. You know, but the contribution, I think, to the sport that you have made and that I have made has opened a lot of the doors. Oh, right. Yeah. Like you have certain, well, you know, a collective group of athletes, right, that have kind of, you know, quote unquote, paid the price, I guess, in a lot of ways. And the rewards weren't necessarily always there. But in that aspect, I think dedicating, you know, the time and effort and energy into it and the discipline to do it, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to also see where it was and where it has got to and where it can go. Because I still think that we're just scratching the surface, really. We are. And I've always seen a different vision, I think. And that's kind of what's been in my head. And, you know, a lot of people can also talk about that vision or what they want to happen or what they think should happen with strongman and that type of thing. But talking will not do a whole lot, right? Like you can talk and then you can have action.
Yeah, action is where everything happens.
Yes,
talk is, until the action starts. Talk is that, exactly that. It's talk.
And I think that I've realized more and more that talking will only take you so far, right? And I think that there's a lot of people
it can actually take you backwards in a lot of cases.
Yes, yeah. Well, and you and I have had conversations about the sport in general for a long time about, well, this is wrong or that's wrong or this needs to be fixed or this needs to be better. But actually taking action and making those things happen, that's a direction that I wanted to take, which is much harder to do. It's very easy to sit back and complain or say, hey, this should be fixed, that should be fixed. Well, who's going to fix it? Right? So anybody having those conversations or talking about it and saying, well, I want to see this and I want to see that. You can walk in with a list of demands all day. That's cool. That's really cool. But unless you're willing to actually take action on that list and say, I'm going to actively do this, I'm going to actively fix this and make it better, which is what I know I've tried to do and you've tried to do. And these type of things are what move it forward.
Correct.
And kind of move the needle, so to speak, and make it happen. And so, you know, I think dedicating ourselves to it from that aspect, you know, I think a lot of people do realize, I think there's unfortunately people that will never realize where it was or where it has got to. And you know, hey, that's part of it too. You know, like you kind of pave the way and make these things happen and try to move it forward. But the rewards, I think, with all that being said, the personal reward for both of us, and you know, it speaks to this, but you know, we could go into a lot of different avenues with this, but you know, I thought that your example of what you just have gone through, and you know, different things that again I've shared, we don't have to rehash necessarily, but those type of things you can get through much easier. Whereas if you didn't have the discipline and the mindset that you do have from all of these years of training hard, and having the discipline to train hard, that type of thing may have put you into a spot where you might not have been able to overcome it the way you did, right, or bounce back, or now you're, let's just say, eating the wrong foods and doing the wrong things, and you know, maybe potentially getting into, you know, whatever, drugs and alcohol and that type of thing. To, man, poor me, God, why is this happening? Everything's over. I'm not going to be able to fight through this, and instead, in a matter of not even 10 weeks, you're back to putting 700 pounds plus on your back and squatting it. Right. And that's, I think, coming full circle with it is what's neat for me. And I think that's the message that, you know, people like this that are asking about it, like, can anybody do strongman? You know, and anybody can. Now, with that being said, I don't think that you necessarily should say, hey, any person out there could get to maybe the level that I did or the level you did. But I'll tell you what, you can get better.
Exactly.
Right? And those lessons of getting better and going in the gym and putting that work in will leave you with what I said kind of at the beginning of this discussion is, hey, I can go in and put this hard work in, and then I see these results. I feel this way mentally and physically, and then I want to do it again. And then you get better. And that's all it really is. It's putting one foot in front of the other, making it happen.
It's being the best you. Plain and simple. You're not going to be the best out of everybody in the world, but you can be the best you. I know you're the greatest strongman to ever exist, in my opinion.
I appreciate that, man.
I know a lot of things that you went through, but you're the best ever. I'm never going to be the best strongman ever, but I was the best strongman I could be.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
And that got me pretty far.
Yeah.
And I can't complain.
Yeah. No, saying it got you pretty far is a little bit of an understatement. You've done some pretty incredible things, man. Like, and that's, you know, and I think in hindsight, you get a different perspective at different points in life. And I think that's why it's neat to be able to answer this type of question and talk about this with you compared to somebody else who's maybe just coming in. It's like, oh, I haven't been through it or haven't had to face the adversity, because, you know, for somebody like me, and I'm one that I tend to not really talk a lot about those things. Right. And, you know, I just have a mentality where you don't show weakness.
Right.
So you deal with it on your own. Right. So there's stuff that I've had to go through, and there's stuff that I have had to go through that I haven't even shared. Right. And you know this because I shared it with you, but not very many people know about that. And that's okay, because I think that there's a lot of power in that as well.
There is.
And, you know, in today's society, whatever you want to call that, a lot of times people will find an excuse before they'll get their back put against the wall and fight out of the corner.
Yeah, you got to fight out of the corner.
Yes. And this is, I think this is a big point to make, right? Because it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to say, well, poor me, God, you know, I have it so bad. I have it this and that. And then a lot of those same people that might say that would look at me and say, well, gosh, Brian's had it so easy. Right? He had everything given to him and everything provided to him. And that's not the case at all. It's so far from what has happened with me. And I think that's part of the story, I guess, that I want to share more with people is, look, I have this mentality where I can go through something, I can fight through something. You can put me in a corner and you can count me out. You can do whatever you want to do, right? But I can prove it, but I can prove it through hard work and discipline and my actions versus throwing in the towel, giving up, and not fighting through it. Because I can promise you that I haven't made it to 15 straight World's Strongest Man contests, straight, right? 14 straight finals, not broken, straight,
right,
without having to overcome and fight through.
You mean 15?
Well, yeah. we haven't done it yet. We're not saying it yet.
I know.
I mean, it'll be 16.
I'm being very positive.
Yeah, 16 in a row and 15 in a row. But you don't do that unless you can overcome adversity and fight.
Oh, very much
fight,
so.
Right?
I mean, heck, at the Arnold when you tore your hamstring and working back and still going that year.
Yep.
I mean, and you tore your hamstring bad.
Bad, yeah.
In a place where that tears, that's an integral part of the deadlift where you got to kick the drive in.
Yep.
And you have to have unbelievable confidence when you kick that drive in that the thing's not going to go.
Yes.
And the mental comeback from something like that is unreal.
Yes.
Because to get it back into that condition, and then 2, to come back and push it to that limit, full well knowing it can go again, and you're just going to go.
Yep.
And yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's just what I do, man.
I know.
Like, I mean, you can say it's amazing and whatever. I just don't think there's any other option.
No.
And again, I think that there's, and I'm looking at people out there, and I'm especially looking, I think, at the young men out there as well. And what I see come out of people all too often is you're not fighting, right? It's too easy. I'm because everybody wants to celebrate this. Well, I have an excuse and I have a reason. I have this and that. Oh, you're so, brave for sharing your excuse and not getting the job done, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's the truth. And whether that's hard for people to hear, hey, man,
they're not going to like hearing that, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, you can come out and and I guess expose your weaknesses if you want to, right? And say, well, and then people can, celebrate that or whatever, but you can figure out a way to fight through adversity.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
And there's people that may not understand that, and that's fine. It's fine with me. I don't necessarily think that every single person out there will understand me saying something like that, but it's the truth.
Correct.
It's the truth. You control your own destiny.
Yeah.
Very much you do. And you're not always going to get everything to fall perfectly in place. And it's not always going to be so simple and easy.
No, it's not going to be. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all day long.
And there's going to be tough moments, man. There's going to be tough moments where you're by yourself and you can only look yourself in the mirror and say, "Am I going to get this done, or I'm not? I'm not going to get this done." Right. And it would be the simplest thing in the world to just give an excuse and say, "Hey, you know what? I couldn't because of X, Y, and Z."
Right. But you're not going to be okay with that mentally.
No.
I'm not going to be okay with that mentally. And that's the difference between the people that will overachieve at things and the people that don't.
Yes. Well, winners.
Yeah.
It's a difference between being a winner and being a loser.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can really completely overachieve and still not quite win. It happens.
Well, there's wins. I guess
there's still wins.
I guess you'd have to define the win.
Right.
Right. So to me, a winner would be overcoming adversity.
Yes.
Right. And figuring out a way when you're not supposed to be able to figure out a way.
Correct.
Right. So it's maybe not, maybe not winning the competition, but
correct.
I would say for me, like if you use these examples, so if you go back to the Arnold in 2012 when I detached my bicep on the first event.
Yes.
To me, I ended up in fourth place in that contest. I did not win. I was not on the podium, right?
He tore his bicep off. He still got fourth.
But I did the whole contest with my bicep detached. So
most guys would have true.
To me, that's something I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And I would say that for me, that's a win mentally overcoming that obstacle and not giving up.
Yeah.
And that's I guess what I'm saying is it's
100%.
To me, that's a win, man. There's moments where I've had to fight through some very, very difficult things, very, very difficult, very hard. And I may not have won the contest, but I didn't give up.
Right.
Right. And I fought through that adversity. And it's kind of the same thing. Like technically right now, I would say that what you've gone through with your kidney, having that taken out, at this point, that's a win. I would say that's a win. Now, did you compete in a contest? No, but you got challenged in a let's call it a life contest, right? You got
a life challenge.
Yeah. And for you to be sitting here in the condition that you're in at this moment is a win.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Because you could have turned into so many other things where you're like, God, poor me, Brian, I've been through this. I had cancer, I had this and that. I can't believe whatever. And you put on, let's just say you put on a ton of bad weight and you're like, man, I just let myself go. There's nothing I can do.
Quit eating.
Yeah. Or yes, exactly. And you quit training. You're not even training. You're not. And that's my point. I think I'm saying you could have found so many excuses in that. Right. And I'm using me as an example too, where a lot of these moments, it would have been so easy to stop and not fight it. Yeah. But that's the difference. It's a difference in me and somebody else.
No,
right?
For sure.
Because I'm not going to quit.
No. I'm
not going to stop. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to let.
Neither am I. We know how that turned out.
Yeah. No, yeah. So to say,
I thought you were going to kill me that day.
Yeah. Well, you have moments, man. But again, when you butt heads, when you get into these type of situations with people, that type of respect as well is, you're not going to back down or give up or, any of that. And I think that there's a lot of power in that as well. And I think that, maybe, like I said, in today's world, we need to celebrate that more.
We do.
We need to celebrate
100%.
Not giving up, and we need to celebrate fighting through. And I think that, like I'm saying to, I'm saying to the young men out there, it's all right to be a man, right?
Yes.
And that's part of being a man, is when you get your back put against the wall, you figure out how to fight out of it and not give up.
Correct.
Right? And
100.
Yeah.
50%.
And we need that. We need young men to embrace that.
Yes. And
to feel empowered that they didn't give up.
Yes.
Right? And not say, hey, you couldn't give an excuse. It's okay, because it's not okay to give up when you face any type of adversity. And that may be to young men and maybe to any person out there, right? Where you're looking yourself in the mirror and you're giving yourself that excuse to not fight through something hard, right? Because we're all going to face hard things, right? I guarantee I'm not done facing hard things in my life, right? And things will pop up and have popped up when you least expect them to come. And you have to figure out how to battle through that, and I think that 100%. Going back to, is strongman worth it? Is training worth it? Is what we've dedicated ourselves to worth it? It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I think that that's so empowering for me to know that, for you to know that, and for people to share that message with people.
Yes.
That you can do whatever you want to do. And if you're disciplined enough in the tough moments, right? When you're by yourself, when you could make every excuse in the world to yourself and let yourself down, instead of doing that, you get up and you go for the walk, right? When you need to, or
exactly.
you maybe choose to eat something healthier when you could eat something that's bad. And for that day, then you chalk it up and that's a win.
Yeah.
And then you win the day, and then you get up and you do it again and you win the next day. And then all of a sudden you create this positive momentum. And that's, for me, what I thrive on, right? And I've said that a lot with even going into a contest like World's Strongest Man, and we were talking about this yesterday. It's positive momentum, man.
Yes.
And I'm building an insane amount of positive momentum right now.
Yes, you are.
And we're chalking up wins. Right? So it's winning can be defined in a lot of different ways, but to me, it's everything, right? And knowing that I won the day, knowing that I went the extra step, I did the extra thing. I did what somebody else was unwilling to do,
and that's why.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you did what someone else is unwilling to do.
Yeah.
And it's not amount of overtraining, it's amount of training the right way, smart, methodical, dedicated, planned out, all that, and yet you still get it done against when people won't. Yeah. And it's overachieving. It's doing the things that people will not do, or it's doing the same boring thing every single day with the freshness like you're just doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Even though it's boring and mundane, you still keep attacking it like it's fresh and new. And that's going to lead you to a winning position in everything that you do in life.
Yeah.
Everything.
And it will. Mm-hmm. It will carry over. And I don't think a lot of people realize that as much, the carryover, right? And you know, it stems from training. But that's why I've said in the past, I think everybody should lift weights.
Agreed.
Everybody. I think everybody should. And I think that you should do something hard every single day. Mm-hmm. Something that puts you outside of your comfort zone somehow. Right. And that doesn't necessarily have to be training, but it has to be something where it's like we just said, the meals, right? The meal choices where is it hard or easy to eat something that's not healthy? That's easier, right? It's harder to prep and take the time to prep something that's good for you. Right. So that's a hard thing that you could do. You know, it's getting up in the morning and having a better morning routine, or this type of stuff, man, will carry over to life so in such a massive way. And people don't realize the trickle effect of everything else. But if you're training,
they do not realize the trickle effect.
Yeah.
Or really understand the concept of that at all. And they start realizing it, you know, a year and a half into like a good routine and stuff like that. And everything in their life starts changing. Things become more positive. Everything keeps growing and building on it. And it's all from the trickle effect of doing the right thing, doing the positive things, and putting the work in.
Yeah. Yeah, we just finished a transformation challenge, and that's what we called it in the Shaw Elite Club. Mm-hmm. And it's been super inspiring to read what these people wrote, because we had them do a write-up at the end. But it wasn't just a physical transformation that we challenged them with. It was more a total transformation, meaning mentally how they approach things. And there was, you know, gratitude and, you know, different challenges along the way that we had them do. But some of these people, it's just incredible, man. And to me, it's if you can change one person, it's totally worth it.
Yep.
Right. And that's the way that I go into anything, and any talk that I give, whether I'm talking to a company or to kids or to whoever. If you can get one kid or one person in that room to engage and go back and take a look in the mirror at themselves and say, wow, I can do this. I can get better, and I can do whatever I want to do if I'm willing to be disciplined. And they make that choice, and then they go on. Then that person turns into, they kind of transform themselves. Yep. But then in turn, they're going to inspire somebody else too. Right. And that's kind of the trickle effect of where it can go to. Yep. So I guarantee what you just shared today here and what you have gone through is going to inspire somebody else. Right. And whether it's directly cancer, you know, something with the kidneys, something else with their body, that they're going to take, they can draw from what you have gone through and how you've approached it with, like, hey, I'm going to meet it head on. I'm going to attack it. We're going to fix it. We're going to do what we can, and we're going to move forward. And that holds a lot of power. But again, that's why I love you coming on and sharing that with people. And, you know, it's not something that's necessarily easy to talk about, especially when you go through something personal like that. Yeah. You know, so it's not as simple as sitting here now in a conversation and, you know, we're trying to, I don't want to say we're making light of it at all, but there's, you know, throw a few jokes in,
sure,
you know, because it's scary, bro. Like, it's scary. What you went through is scary.
It's frightening,
and not something that you want to go through at all, right? But the way that you met it head on, I think, holds a lot of power. And I think that, you know, sharing what I'm saying, answering that question about strong, but just I think it's more so the approach to life, right? And you know, if it was not strongman for me, it would have been something else.
Yep.
And I would have attacked that with the same drive and focus and intensity, you know, and who knows where it'll go for me.
Well, that's the whole thing with all this is you've learned whatever you decide, whatever you choose to be unbelievably good at it, that's what you're good at. You make the decision, you make the choice of what you want to excel at, and you overachieve and excel at everything that you make the decision you want to do that to. And so can everyone else.
Yep.
You just have to make the decision and then over-exceed at it and take all the steps necessary, learn all about it, learn it inside and out, and have the discipline to show up and do it every single day. And that's what leads to long-term success. And it also leads to a knowledge of whatever I decide I want to excel at, I'm going to excel at.
Yep.
There's nothing that's going to stop me from excelling when I want to. There's nothing that's going to stop you from excelling. And that's the takeaway. That's what people really need to learn and understand. And just because you get hit with something that sets you back or whatever, it doesn't mean that's the end of it. It just means you get into the corner, you fight your way out of the corner.
Yep.
And that's all. And there is no giving up. It's not there.
Yeah. Well, it's not an option.
No.
It's not. You don't give yourself that option.
No.
Right. You don't throw in the towel. And when that option is not on the table, good things can happen.
Correct.
And you said that very well. I'm not even going to try to
Thanks.
make that any better, because you can do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it, and then you follow through and do all of those things. That is exactly what you can do. Yeah. Very, very well said, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Appreciate your time, buddy.
Yeah.
If you guys are not following Nick, please give him a follow. Nick Best Strongman on Instagram,
Twitter,
all of that's
Facebook,
the same, right?
YouTube. It's all Nick Best Strongman.
Perfect. And he's putting out good stuff, apparently, like Titanic squat pictures with me. So you can go enjoy fun content like that.
It's actually on the Evolution site.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
The comment was on that.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. Well, whatever. Hopefully I wasn't making a weird face in it. So, no, I appreciate it, man, and appreciate your story. I hope that you guys can take something away from this. If you did, please share the podcast. It means more to our growth and getting the message out to people when you guys share it, when you interact and that type of thing. So definitely keep doing that, guys, and we'll keep trying to bring you the best content that we possibly can here on the podcast. So hope you're all doing amazing. For now, go out and be great, and we'll check you guys later.